Welcome to the ICF Crisis Reporting Forum. My name is Paul Adepoju, and I'm the community manager for the forum. And today we are looking, the attention is focused on an aspect of journalism that is so important to journalism and can also be easily overlooked. And when you switch on your TV set, when you want to watch the news, you can easily connect with the newscasters and on the field reporters. Even when you open the pages of newspapers, top journalists' bylines will always pop at you. But for individuals that are behind cartoons that can make you laugh and make you see issues from a different perspective, they are sometimes easily forgotten. And even though they bring so much joy and allow us to see things, grim news, through a positive perspective, they sometimes seem to be easily overlooked. But telling stories through cartoons is not just an easy task. It's a peculiar quality that the people that are very good at this venture can better communicate stories and allow the audience to have a better grasp of what they are saying. And that's the focus of our webinar today. And when we'll be looking at how to tell stories through cartoons. And we have a veteran in this capacity as our expert today, in person of Mike Asukwo. Mike Asukwo has been drawing cartoons for more than 15 years, and he has also been playing active roles in telling COVID-19 stories through cartoons. So without much ado, I'd like to welcome Mike. Mike, how are you doing today? Your mic, you're muted, Mike. You have to unmute yourself.
All right. Thank you, Paul. And good afternoon, all.
Yeah, so thank you very much, Mike. So Mike, I would like to start with understanding how the process of producing cartoons. So what is the first thing that you have to do? What is the first thing on your list if you are trying to produce a cartoon? Let's say for tomorrow's edition.
Yeah, personally, it's not really, there's not really a cut and dry way to producing cartoon. You could start from, there are different processes involved. So you could actually start from any of the processes. But the most important thing is that you have to actually come up with a subject matter. So for me, that produces editorial cartoons, the first thing I do is ask myself, what am I going to talk about today? What are the issues? What are the what might not really be what is trending, but what are the issues that affect me most, or the generality of the public? What do I want to talk about? So that's the first thing I have to decide on. So I might choose, okay, today I want to talk about the maybe electricity supply situation in the country, or maybe I want to talk about insecurity or corruption. Bearing in mind that you might talk about corruption and in a way involve insecurity and also electricity supply or power supply or even an infrastructure. So, but then you have to come in from a particular point. So when I decide on that, I then ask myself, where am I coming in from? So choosing a perspective. So it's very, very important to choose a perspective. How am I going to look at this thing from? From what point of view? And at that point in time, I'm making a lot of, I'm looking at different aspects of it, maybe of a news item, and how do I feel about this? How do people feel about this? how does this, how significant is this to our well-being right now, or our present or the future? So once I've decided on that, actually, while thinking about this, I could actually be holding a pencil in my hand and even drawing. But that time I may not really be very specific of what I am drawing. But as I'm thinking, I am zeroing in on the imagery. Because at that time my head is out there and I allow ideas to flow in as I'm thinking. So that's the first thing I do to decide on the subject matter.
Yeah, so thank you very much. So before my next question, I'd like to inform those that are joining us today that the floor is always open for you to ask questions. So whichever you are joining us from, if you are joining us via Facebook live stream, there is a comment button, there is a comment box under this live stream where you can put your questions to. And if you're also joining us on this Zoom platform, you can use the Q&A section to put in your questions. And talking of questions, I would like to ask, what do you think is different from telling COVID-19 stories using cartoons and other editorial cartoons that you've drawn before? Is there something that actually stood out for you with the pandemic?
Yeah, a lot. The pandemic for most of us was a very unusual situation, something that we've never really ever experienced. And so one is that most of us were working from unusual locations, and then we were also working with most of us were told that we've never a very unusual tools and medium. So and then there were so many new ideas and imagery flowing in on a daily basis, and people were losing hope. People were afraid. People were confused. People were dying. People were really having some of the toughest time in their life. So I saw that the cartoons really had to bring hope. The cartoon really had to bring humor, actually, although it was actually difficult having to make joke of serious things like death and the pandemic that the pandemic brought. So it was a time to be very, very careful in the way I chose the imagery, the way I choose elements, for my compositions. It was a time to be very careful the way I choose captions. And so for me, it was a whole new approach to.
I think Mike is frozen, and so while we get Mike back, I would like our audience to. I have a quick poll that I would like to know what your perception about cartoons are.
So we had to do this. So for me, it was a very challenging period. In
So for audience, we have a poll coming up, and I think so. The question we'd like to ask you is that what comes to your mind when you see cartoons in publication? When you open a newspaper, when you are reading something, what comes to your mind? So we have a poll. We'll soon go back. We're having network or connection issue with Mike, but while we wait for Mike's connection to be back with us. What comes to your mind when you see cartoons in publication? Do you consider cartoons as comedy? Do you consider cartoons as a source of information? Do you see it as journalism? Do you see it as storytelling? And do you see it as editorial? So what comes to your mind when you see cartoons? Mike, I want you to be looking at, you have to unmute yourself. I want to, it is the next question that I have. So if you look at how this is going, do you agree with our audience? And is it something that, how do you encapsulate cartoon in general? And what do you see cartoons' position in journalism as? Looking at how our audience views of cartoons.
Yeah, well, they say journalism is history drawn in a hurry, history written in a hurry. And I feel also that editorial cartoons are also history drawn in a hurry. So the editorial cartoon is a combination of all that we have mentioned. Is comedy, is humor, is journalism, is editorial, because a cartoon can be interpretative. A cartoon, can be, can also just give analysis. A cartoon can be prophetic. So there is even a religious angle to it. So a cartoon can also be entertaining, and if it's done well, the cartoon can have all these elements, put together, because a cartoon is a very strong source of information. A lot of time, we tend to forget a lot of things that happen around us. But once this is done in cartoon, there is a tendency for people to keep bringing it back, keep sharing, and then so it's mnemonic. So it stays in the memory, because of the imagery chosen, the elements used, and the medium that is used to present the cartoons. So the cartoon is all of this, if you done well, it could be a very
one of the problems that cartoons usually have, and I think many of our audience has shown in the results of this poll would agree with me, is sometimes being able to draw the line between what the opinion of the person, the cartoonist is, and the fact. And so for Mike, if you look at it, the most popular definition of cartooning is as a storytelling. And this is followed by opinion and editorial. And which means cartoon is not really seen as journalism, as storytelling, which means there is no avenue. Must a cartoonist always have a position? And must the position of the cartoonist always be the one that is projected in the production? And how do we ensure that there is balance in what the message is being projected is? So how do you deal with this bias?
Yeah, I think we are talking about objectivity, right?
Yes.
Yeah, the very fact that it's even relative, because the very point that you choose a subject matter, even as a regular reporter, the very fact time that you choose a subject, the very fact that you decide to report on issue A instead of issue B, you are already taking a side, because you're already deciding, how does this affect me, or how does it affect the people I know. So for a cartoonist, you have to take this side, when you are choosing the subject matter. And in most cases, it could be actually confusing, because you may want to present a positive message and then using a negative imagery, which can easily be misunderstood. So you have to also check the issue of ambiguity. How do you present a message in such a way that you are not misunderstood? So that stands as an opinion because basically a cartoon stems from an opinion of the cartoonist. You have to come in, that's why I talk about perspective. You have to come in from a particular angle to the story. So that angle you choose, is an angle that you are comfortable with. You have done your research. You know how it affects the people you are talking about. You know how you're going to affect the audience. You know how it affects your reader. Once you make that decision, you are already biased in a way. So you cannot be 100% objective when you are picking these issues. So you have to pick that stand, and you have to speak from your point. That could be just like maybe a point of strength. Okay, this is what I know about this issue. I have research on this issue, and this is what I think this is about.
Yeah, so thank you. So I have another question for our audience, and that will now lead to, I will also want Mike's feedback. And so the question is this: are cartoonists that work in media houses, are they journalists or not? So I want us to look at what our audience believes will be the answers. Are cartoonists journalists or not? So about over nearly 70% of our participants see cartoonists as journalists, while I think it's very now, very few people are seeing cartoonists as journalists. Let's give it some seconds. Let's give it some thought. So, Mike, what do you think? Cartoonist journalists?
Yeah, we have cartoon journalists. We have photojournalists. As far as I know, a cartoonist is a journalist. Of course, if you say columnists are journalists, if you say analysts are journalists, then you can rarely say that cartoonists, that interpret that pushes the news out in a unique format, is a journalist, because now we even have infographics, as part of journalism. So if we have that, then you can safely say that, in the newsroom, the cartoonists, especially the editorial cartoonists, are journalists.
Okay, now let me take a question. One of the several questions that we have from you. So Farah Adna from Iraq has 2 questions. The first question is, if the journalist does not know how to draw or to create cartoons, do you advise us to use specific and easy programs to draw the cartoon that the journalist has in mind? And what are the most important programs that you recommend to journalists to animate the cartoon and use it in press videos? And I don't know if you recommend using After Effects or other programs in your mind to animate the cartoon. So this brings us to the question of who can be a cartoonist, and what are the toolkits? So answer these questions, then you can add Farah's questions to it.
Okay. When you were talking about cartoonists, I think for cartoonists, you first have to have the passion, and then you have to have the artistic and the technical skills, to convey what is on your mind into the cartoon format. And there are a lot of ways you could do this. There are the manual ways, and then there are the digital ways. But as far as I know, the manual ways are much more flexible. They are much more flexible because you can draw anything. But digitally, you might be maybe hampered by your limited knowledge about the program that you're using. So you need to really be trained or get well vested in the program that you have chosen to create your cartoon with. You know, at the same time too, because most of the applications that we have, you know, for the ones that you can use for cartooning, they already have presets. You know, so if you are true to yourself, you might not really want to take credit for preset images. You know, so whatever medium you choose. Personally, I use like 30% manual and 70% digital. You know, my cartoons are created manually, you know, as a sketch, you know, before transferring it to the computer, where I use other softwares to complete my cartoons. And this does two things for me. One, it makes it possible for me to have originals of my cartoons. You know, that is to say, you can ask for originality of my cartoon. I have them in black and white.
Wow.
So those ones are saved as original artwork. In fact, some people used to call me and say, look, I like this cartoon. Can I buy the original of that cartoon? And of course, the original is much more expensive than digital, because digital ones will always come out in print. And where we are in Nigeria, people don't, when it comes to print, people are not very, most people are not really very honest about print. So sometimes if somebody can tell you that, look, this print is just maybe 1 of 10. I want you to discover that maybe he has already printed about 20 or so. So that automatically affects, you know, the value.
Okay. Okay. We'll still talk about the business of cartoons, but I would like us to learn to check out some of Mike's beautiful works. And one of the things that always stands out for me anytime I check out Mike's works is the depth, the quality, the color. They are always colorful. So Mike, are you still there? So we'll look at some of his works, and especially in the context of the COVID-19 pandemic. Mike, are you with us? I think your mic is off.
Okay.
Yes, so what I want us to do before we talk about the business of cartoons is I want you to take us through the thought process, how some of your works came about. So let's start with this one. How did this come together?
Yeah, of course, we were battling with the COVID then, and we had the health workers who were like the frontliners out there, and a lot of messages we were receiving were not really good. A lot of them were confused about the true nature of the virus, and even there were also some stories about how the health workers were exposed, you know, to the danger and all that. And so, but then we were here at home, we were feeling safe because there were people out there who were trying to push against the virus. And so I just decided that, okay, let me do something to at least you know, to appreciate, you know, the effort of these the frontliners, you know, and you see in the way they were pushing against the virus, you know, there was that unity, there was that sacrifice, you know, that I just needed to I just needed to draw attention to. So that
Okay.
was the idea behind this.
Okay. I'm trying to load another one. What about this?
Yeah,
What's the
it was sort of predictive.
Are you still there? Now, I think from what I can see in this image, I'm not sure to how much, this is how I will interpret this image. We can see the weight of the coronavirus on the economy. So we have the economy in text, and we have the virus weighing down on the economy. And I think it speaks to the fact that COVID-19 is a pandemic that affects several aspects of human endeavor, especially including the economy of countries, and not just countries, economies of the world. Because if you look at how the world has found itself struggling to cope and get back to normal. I think that I read of recessions that happened in several countries, and several countries it would take years for the economic gains to be economic losses to be gotten back. And one of the things that intrigued me about cartoons is that look at the number of words that I had to use to explain something. But in just one view, you can quickly and easily have an entire idea of what the cartoonist is trying to communicate. Mike, do you agree with my analysis?
Yes, yes, Paul. Sorry for the interruption. Yes, I wanted to show the effects of the pandemic on the economy. It was not only happening to only. In fact, that was what a lot of people were afraid of. How do we survive after the pandemic? A lot of sectors were struggling. Some of them were even brought all the way down. Tourism was entirely out, and education, schools were locked down. So I was looking at this and how it will impact the economy, and
There is
so.
a, there is a question that I really want you to take right now, which is Miriam from Miriam Falco. Miriam Falco said that cartoonists are journalists here with an asterisk because they have an opinion. But Miriam is now asking a question. Uh, okay, Marina, sorry. Marina, Gilbert is now asking a question. Do cartoonists like you see that you have a role to educate the public and to fight misinformation? And also, Marina would like to know if you've covered scientific topics before, or was it specifically during COVID that you started doing this? I think no. Answer those questions.
Yeah. Thank you, Marina. Hello?
Oh, yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. Cartoonists are journalists with aesthetics. Yeah, sure. There is a lot that the cartoonist, has to say that I border on advocacy. I have actually had to deal with misinformation before, because one thing I don't do is to just hatch onto the bandwagon. Maybe just look, say a trending topic and then you run after it, without doing research of your own. I made a mistake about that once, and I had an issue with the Minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, who actually called me and pointed my mistake to me. So I've been very, 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 very careful about that. I try to make sure that my stories are well researched, and that I do my homework well. That when I am actually, especially when individuals are involved. So if the cartoon does his homework well, because even the news story that is pushed out there, a cartoon is seen, can also have a news story that is pushed out there. And when your audience discover that your cartoon was based on a fake news story, it affects your credibility. So I try to avoid that, by making sure that my stories, just like a regular reporter would do, is well researched. Sometimes I even call certain quarters to confirm a particular news story. So that's what I do, and also sometimes the cartoons are also used, to um, to fight a cause. This is important, because no matter how you look at it, is a tool. Cartoon is a tool for advocacy, and a good cartoonist will know when to use this tool. That at every point in time, people look up to you. People use their images to maybe buttress a point or push a certain agenda for the good of the people. So it's important that one stays well informed himself to be able to push well-informed cartoons.
We have, I think this particular cartoon that I'm displaying speaks to the role of cartoonists in educating the general public. For instance, I think this is saying that is justifying the need for people to protect themselves and wear the necessary protective equipment. So we have a number of questions, lots of questions already on jobs for cartoonists, and I'm going to combine two now. Okay, maybe can you quickly ask, this person is asking whether these cartoons that we are seeing, whether they were sketched using the hand or you use software. Can you quickly answer that?
Yeah, they were manually sketched.
They were manually sketched. Then there is another question on, I think Ranjan, sorry if I did not pronounce that well, say, ask why there is no job security and life safety for cartoonists. So what is the job ecosystem like for cartoonists? And what do you think an aspiring cartoonist can do to ensure that he or she is, or the person is financially sufficient and is able to have a successful career?
Yeah, thank you. That is actually an area where, even right now, as a member of the Cartoonist Association of Nigeria, Catan, we are still brainstorming on how, on the way forward, once it comes to job security. Because there were times that cartoonists were much respected, especially in newsrooms across Nigeria. In fact, in most rooms, most rooms in Nigeria back then, the cartoonists were like, little gods. They were placed above, even high above some of their colleagues. Because of that uniqueness about what they do. The uncommon creativity that it takes to to reduce so many words to just few lines of an image. And so the cartoonists then were people that could actually hold their own financially. So, but somehow it is going down, and I will feel that maybe because generally when we are experiencing job losses in every sector, and that is how the cartoonists themselves get affected. But we also feel that there might be some fundamental reasons, maybe right from how cartoonists are trained. Do people come out of school as cartoonists? Do you come out? Do you have maybe maybe first degree in cartooning? So we can use it to push Also, a lot of time, some people see the cartoonist as just, maybe the guy is not really serious. Maybe he's just doing this while he's waiting for a proper means of livelihood. So much is not actually put into that, into what you do as a cartoonist. Because people don't feel like, oh, you must have spent years in school acquiring this degree. And so you don't feel that you need any kind of compensation, or you cannot live by it, So that is where we have the problem of especially remuneration for the cartoonists and where to really place the cartoonists, financially. But I can tell you that a lot of cartoonists that we have in Nigeria now are doing well on their own. They're doing it because there are so many things the cartoonists can do. There are so many areas where cartoonists can find themselves useful. And a cartoonist is, can actually survive on his skills, because his skills will still be needed at any time of the day from any sector. So just like every other thing, yes, the cartoonists are struggling, to be noted, to be taken note of, especially in newsrooms. Some newsrooms feel that, oh, they can do without a cartoonist, or they can just use the service of a freelance cartoonist instead of bringing one in house.
Yeah.
So that is the issue we have right now.
Then Alexander once is saying, hello, from India. My areas of interest is in cartoons as a tool for communicating science, especially editorial cartoons, with especially focus on climate change. And it is a challenge most often to use cartoons for academically, especially for research, as each cartoon is costly. How can this be addressed? Are we allowed to use the editorial cartoons just by giving credentials? So what will you advise this person to do? If he sees a cartoon, he wants to use a cartoon, but getting each cartoon is very expensive. The first question is that by just attributing that this cartoon was drawn by this person, can the person go ahead and use that cartoon?
Yeah, in fact, it's something I come across almost on a daily basis. In fact, even this morning, I had to write a note of permission for someone who's about to use my cartoon for a research. People will always, the cartoons are always there. The problem we have in that most cartoons are not so documented, or cartoonists are not so documented as for you to be possible for you to access them, as easily. When most of them are not coming from a newspaper house or a website, or maybe something somebody just push on the internet and it starts going viral, and then it might be very hard for you to trace where it came from. So that is actually one problem. But as far as I know, if you give credit to a cartoonist, you've made attempt to reach a cartoonist and failed, and you publish it, but credit of the cartoonist, especially not tampering with the cartoonist signature or byline, as the case may be. I think that in some cases, a cartoonist that come across his work used like that the credit has been given to him, will not actually will not be angry about it, But where there are some cases where cartoonists are picked maybe from the internet, and then attempts are made to maybe remove the cartoonist signature, or in a way change the captions. I think that is itself is a criminal offense. But as much as possible, it's good to give credit to the creator of the work in the case where you cannot have access, to him. Some people take months to do it. In fact, we still have a cartoon that somebody wanted to use as far as in the UK, and we are still trying to trace the creator within the Cartoonist Association of Nigeria. So it shows how important this is.
That's a lot, but still on that question, why is it difficult to track the person that drew that cartoon? Is there no standard of curating and publishing works so that it can be easily referenced?
Yeah, I think some of the problem is that some people may do cartoons and then push it out through maybe a social media handle or a site that might have maybe have some issues and is offline. And so you're trying to trace that kind of cartoon, it might be hard because it cannot take you to where it came from. So that is why at the Cartoon Association of Nigeria, we are trying to make sure that every cartoon, no matter where you are sending it, no matter where you're publishing it, that the association has a kind of a provenance of that cartoon. So we have date was done. We have the media house that first published it, so that at least whoever wants to know can easily get information from the database of the Cartoon Association of Nigeria.
Sorry about that. Sorry about that. So one of the things that I think happens when you look at the sharp contrast in the development of the cartoon ecosystem in developing countries and the advanced world, it seems as if there is a sharp difference. I don't know whether you agree with me. So why are there so much? Because I don't think the cartoonists in the developed world will struggle to have much control over their work or will be struggling to be easily tracked. So why does it seem as if there is imbalance in this?
Yeah, I think you actually made a point. In fact, your first question about how to document these cartoons to make it easy for referencing. Most of the time, it's actually from the media houses where these cartoons come out from. We all know how it is here when it comes to keeping records, and then most of the time too, most cartoonists work alone. For instance, you have an office where you're supposed to have maybe a system where every cartoon you do is logged into that system, so that anybody can access that cartoon even when you are not there. But most cartoonists work with their maybe personal computers, and these cartoons are not saved in archive that is easily accessible. Or in fact, in most cases, you see that even the newspaper houses that produce a cartoon may not have their cartoon that is maybe like more than a year's old. And so it boils down to how we keep our records,
Okay.
And you also know that, in those countries you're talking about, cartoon is treated as an art piece. So the same respect, the same concern, that is given to artworks, are given to cartoons, no matter how small they are.
Let's talk about ownership issues. Who owns the cartoon? Because I remember you mentioned that you have the raw files of your cartoons or the sketches, and these also appear in the publications that you work for. So legally, who can say that this belongs to me? Do you own it, or does it belong to your employer? Then another question is this: what other avenues, monetization avenues, are available to cartoonists beyond the salaries that they collect routinely from the media houses that they work with?
Okay, thank you. The cartoon, it actually depends on the kind of agreement you have with your media house. For instance, a business day, there is a joint copyright to every cartoon produced, which means that the business day has, the right, the first publication. They publish my cartoons first. That is the one that I've created for them. The product effect. In fact, I don't even share it on social media, only it has been published. It has been published by them. That is the kind of house rules. So, but then you may have other things you might want to do with the cartoon. Maybe you want to use it as a book cover somewhere, or you want to use it as a calendar somewhere. So far as is you own the intellectual property to your cartoon, that cannot stop you from, so whatever here cannot stop you from using a cartoon, a property that belongs to you, so far as it doesn't go against whatever agreement you have with your media house.
Okay, there's another question on safety for cartoonists, editorial cartoonists. So how safe is this career? And have you had any personal experience, personal life-threatening experience?
Well, I haven't. Of course, in Nigeria, I know where I may not say no go areas, but for the sake of the kind of we have to be conscious of the sentiment around you. You have to be cautious of the mood, and so whatever you produce in a cartoon has to take that into consideration. And so, but no matter what, sometimes when a message that is pushed out there, maybe an element used or a caption used, the imagery used might be somehow ambiguous as to be misinterpreted, and in such cases, of course, people will come after you, sensibilities have been touched, and sometimes if you felt you were, it was an honest mistake on your part, you could find an avenue to say, okay, sorry, that is not what I meant. But there are people who can just deliberately want to misrepresent some element that you have employed in a cartoon, and then that's when you now have a threat, you have, some kind of abuse and all that. But I believe that a cartoonist also have some kind of thick skin to withstand that. But other than that, there have not ever been that kind of threat. But of course, there have been some sanctions. There have been sanctions,
What kind of sanctions have you received? And where did they come from? And what did you do to warrant that sanction?
Well, one is that, especially coming from the corporate body,
Okay.
that sector. And then, you're working for a municipal house who have to depend on some of them for survival. And then, so you have to be careful how you present something that, affect them. So maybe sometimes names are omitted, or even some kind of colors are omitted in order not to be misconstrued.
Okay.
And I still remember that there was a time I did a cartoon that showed a particular airline, and immediately my publisher was was alerted, and a lot of everybody was, so. But then that these things, so far as these things are is not based on sensation, so far
Yeah.
as it's not, yes, you can ridicule, but not with malice. So far as that it was not with intent um, to create malice, was not intended to destroy. It was just a honest attempt to push out a certain information out there. So far as that is not your intention, I think there's nothing to worry about. But there have been such kind of sanctions, even from states who say, look, you have insulted, look, this is not good for us. And then so they could take some actions, maybe holding on to maybe advert and all that, because you said
Okay.
certain things. So those kind of sanctions can actually come in.
So if you are just joining us, we've been discussing with Mike Asukwo, who is the head of graphics at Business Day Limited, on how to tell stories through cartoons. And we've also been looking at the lives of cartoonists and the business of cartoons in general. So if there is a particular issue that we've not covered in our conversation, there is still a chance for you to quickly drop it, capture it as a question, whatever you think is important for you to take home from this conversation. We still have some time to take some questions. I think that is really, really important. So whatever your questions you have, I will certainly pass it on to Mike. And so we have a question from Abayomi Odewale, who is asking, can anybody be a cartoonist, or are there some attributes that an aspiring cartoonist must have?
Yeah, I think there are so many cartoonists out there who cannot draw. So I think it starts from the mind, it starts from the mind. I believe that anybody can be witty, anybody can come up with images, and so I know very well that there are many people who would be good cartoonists, except that they don't know how to draw. And so that is a limitation, So if you know that you come up with ideas, you come up with funny stuff, and then you know that you are the main handicap is the ability to draw. I think you can actually learn how to draw. The good thing is that you don't have to be such a very perfect artist, technically, to be a good cartoonist. In fact, your cartoon can even have its strength from your inability, to draw well. So you could do anything. You could even be stickman. You can use stickman to just create cartoons. There are so many funny stuff that is running, that being shared on the internet. I have some very bad drawing. That bad drawing in its own now becomes a style, that actually help you to say what they want to say. So
No,
if you
let's
know
say
that,
okay, finish, please.
so if you feel that, look, I have this idea. Most of the people just call me and say, Asukwo, I have this idea. Why don't you about this and that? So I believe that you could do this, but for you to be a good cartoonist, you have to have that passion, and you also have to have that artistic and technical skill, that will help you to bring from your, to make tangible what you have in your head.
Then we've also a lot of questions that we are still getting still have to do with what to use to sketch cartoons. Somebody is asking, are there free tools that they can use? Especially somebody that is just starting cartoon. So what free tools, easy to use tools will you recommend?
I think the easiest to use tool in cartooning is a pencil.
Pencil.
You know, yeah, I think it's easier because anybody can hold a pencil. You know, and so if you can hold a pencil, you can also hold a pen. A pen might be a normal, a regular pen or a digital pen. You know, so it is ability to create lines, you know, to create those lines that will help you separate your image from the surrounding, you know, that we are talking about here. So anybody with a pencil, so I personally start my drawing with a pencil. So it's the easiest tool for you to use. But when it comes to digital tools, you know, there is no tool, you know, that will draw for you. There is no tool that can draw for you. You can just use pictures and then manipulate pictures and then create cartoon out of them. But to draw in a free and flexible manner, you know, you need to be able to draw by yourself, either on paper or on your screen or on your tablet. So the ability to draw, you know, cannot be ruled out. Is important. So you need to learn how to at least create lines with a tool, a pencil, a pen, you know, or a brush.
Now, if you talk about pencil, and how do you transfer hard copy? I'm not a cartoonist, I'm a writer, but I'm trying to at least stand in between our audience and you. How do you, if you're saying pencil, how do you transfer something from hard copy onto what is going to be published by a newspaper and across multiple platforms? Then another thing that I also want you to add to this is how does an aspiring cartoonist get that first shot or get the attention of publishing houses?
Yeah, I think, okay, let us take the point. No, it's actually very simple. That is one of the simplest way to do. And you could actually do a drawing that will be like a guide for you. You are using a digital pen. You can actually use a pencil and do a sketch, and either use your phone, you have a good phone, take a picture of the scan the work, or use a normal scanner, and then transfer it on to your computer, where you now use some other tools to manipulate. There is a Photoshop, there's Illustrator. Some people even use of course, Illustrator is vector based, just like Corel Draw. So you can actually, if you have the patience, you can actually use it to create fantastic and very clean images. You know, so the initial sketch that you do will be like a guide. You know, that'll be like a guide if you are doing manual, or you can just use your digital pen and do your sketching on your tablet. You know, and then build it or flesh it up. You know, with the make it thicker lines or add colors and add captions. You know, so you can use that.
Okay.
Then you asked the question, right?
Yes, the marketing your first sketch and
Yeah,
getting the first break.
yeah. I think that actually, you know, they said when preparation and opportunity meets, and then people say they are lucky. I think it's important that you always prepare. I can tell you now that there are so many um, uh, um, jobs out there for cartoonists. You know, there are a lot of things that a cartoonist can do other than just um, do a cartoon for newspaper house.
What are these things?
Okay, for instance, you know, right now our spaces are shrinking because people are getting tired of text. There is so much that is coming at you every second. You know, so many information that's coming at you every second. Open your phone, information flying. You have people are putting information every place right now, even on your wristwatch. Somebody is trying to sell, you know, put an advert on it, And so how does the information now stand out? How do you make information draw the attention that is needed? So when information is presented in form of a diagram or an image, it gets more attention. So people are taking advantage of that. So instead of just saying those things they want to say, they rather draw it. And then you could shrink so much into an image. And so you see that advertisers are using cartoon now more. Banks are using cartoon now more to sell their products. Everybody is trying to use an image because they know that you will hardly ignore an image. Especially an image that is funny, an image that that is saying something. So you want to see, what is it saying? And so by so doing, the artist has his job. So you have people there are people that before they rather not think of using illustrations for their books, but there are many authors now who want to incorporate illustrations into their book, so that to break the monotony of text. So you are reading, you see you see drawing, but before that it was just for children's book. But now even books for adults use pictures or cartoons, because they know very well that you want to rest your eyes, you want to you can say a lot in that small space with an image. So the cartoonist is needed to do all this. So all around your calendars and everywhere you turn to, there is an image. There is either a meme or an animation. In the movie industry too, there is a serious need for the cartoonist. So the cartoonist work is already laid out there for him. So you just have to be prepared for this.
Then somebody is asking about telling stories wholly using cartoons. Is it possible to have a full journalistic work that is solely communicated using cartoons? And how can that be done?
We already have some graphic novels, So we used to have a comic before, but we already have graphic novel where the entire story is presented in cartoons. It makes it more interesting, It makes cartoon more. It makes storytelling a lot more interesting, because now you know very well that anybody can read your book. Anybody can live through, and then there's always something interesting to read, something interesting to see. So you are reading, you are also enjoying the feel, feeling that comes from the images that you see. So it's very possible to have cartoons. So far we have magazines all in pictures. We have magazines that is all presented in pictures. So this is also possible.
Okay, and Fatima, to Fatima's question regarding access to this video, yes, this video will be available on the ICFJ YouTube page. If you are part of our Facebook community, we are going to share this with you. And so another question that I think is really, really pertinent is what mistakes do you think people do make when trying to tell stories using cartoons, and how can these mistakes be avoided?
Okay, one is thinking that your audience will not understand. I think that is one mistake that some artists do. You believe that, oh, you have to do, and what that will now create a situation where you now want to say too much in the cartoon. When you are trying to say too much, especially in text and labeling, it makes the cartoon clumsy, and create the very problem that you were trying to solve, by doing a cartoon instead of just writing. So I think that is one. So the entire idea there is for you to reduce all the thought process and everything you want to say into images that can easily be understood. You know, it might not be so easy to understand, but at least when in contemplation, the answers, the 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 symbolism that you have employed will be open to your audience. You know, instead of it to assume that, oh, they will not know that this this animal represents the king. So you now want to explain to them in drawing why is it. So by the time you try to do all this, you are already saying too much, you know, and then you make the entire result clumsy and also not visually appealing. So some of us look at a cartoon, it has so many information on it, and the person will just move on. So that is one mistake. Another thing too is not actually resolving your thought process. You know, some people sort of think halfway and put borders on their imaginations. If you continue, if you want to do a cartoon, you should not consciously put borders on your imagination. You have to think, you have to let your mind get to a point where you know that, oh, I have found a solution. I think this is the best way to say this, you know. And so if you just rush on paper and then start drawing because the idea just come to you, you're bound to make a mistake or say what you're not supposed to say things that you're not meant to say, you know, not in the way you want to say it. So that is another mistake that some cartoonists make. Another thing too is picking images that are too ambiguous, you know, so that the cartoon, the objective or the subject matter of the cartoon might be lost because people sort of really misunderstand what some element that you have used in the cartoon actually symbolizes. You know, so that is some major issue that some cartoonists, you know, have, or some cartoons that come across. And sometimes as people that I know, I will just call you and say, look, be careful here.
Okay, and so for our audience, I want us to quickly, regarding what he mentioned about cartoons not being worthy, I'll ask him a question, and I want us to also have a brief exercise. How do you interpret this cartoon that you're looking at on your screen? What do you think is the key message? You can see the only text there is 4 letters. And so please, in the comment section, in the Q&A section, quickly put what you think this cartoon represents. And while you are doing that, let us ask the person that actually drew it what message was trying to convey in this cartoon and how long did this take to come together? Mike. Yeah, your mic is off, Mike.
Okay, thanks. Okay. There were so many cartoons at that point, you know, at the heat of the pandemic. You know, we were all trying to help ourselves by passing useful information in whatever way we could. You know, this was actually about social distancing. You know, that there was a lot of people were complaining about being home. The complaint was, what are we been doing at home? You know, what are we doing at home? The virus will come and kill us here and all that. So it was my own special appeal, you know, to people that look, you are safer. You know, so there is a breach where the virus is going towards, is going to spread it to the people. And so the virus has to go through people to get to people. So the first contact, if the first contact is not there, then the other people are safe. So that was what the whole cartoon was all about. If you sit at home, you automatically have broken that bridge for the virus to pass to other people.
Okay.
So as I say, you are safer home. So you could see that bridge there. You could see a part of the bridge under the house where the figure is standing. So if you pick that figure, that part of the cartoon up, you can fit very well into that space.
I think what you just described confirmed what you said about fewer texts being able to still be able to communicate it. We have different explanations of what people think this cartoon is communicating. Fatima says that the message is use face mask if you must be outside. I think it's too well aligned with there is an element of that in this cartoon. And Chiwike is also saying that the cartoon clearly communicates the fact that when you stay home, you break the chain of transmission of COVID, which is also exactly part in line with what you said. Is it possible, has it ever been possible that people actually got an entirely different message from what you were trying to communicate in your work? Has it ever happened? And how do you ensure that your work is not misinterpreted? Or how do you deal with misinterpretation of your cartoons?
Yeah, okay, that is actually a very, very important point, because some of the issues I've had with my cartoons have come from that aspect of it, a misinterpretation, and most time it depends on, it might depend on time or location. For instance, a cartoon that is made today may have a different meaning, like in the next 2 years, because the element used might sort of assume different significance, depending on the issues around that time. There was a cartoon that I did that is almost like 3 years ago, that somebody just went and saw it and then gave it an entire new interpretation, and then they now ran with the new interpretation. In fact, to the extent that even my publisher had to call me and said, "What was this cartoon about? Is it about what they're saying?" I said, "No," And the explanation was, the cartoon was actually clear. I said that people just decide to misinterpret because of issues in the country around that particular time. So that is the thing. And in most cases, the cartoonists cannot really help it. You just have to do your own part to make sure that the captions, the images that is used, that as much as possible, and try to say what you want to say. But you cannot really stop you from misinterpreting certain things.
Okay. Yeah, so our time has a fast spent. So we have lots of questions, but I will take these last two. Apologies to those whose questions we not cannot be taken. So the first question is this. The person says, I'd like to ask Mr. Asukwo what guides him in the framing of his cartoons. Does he just go along with his organization's editorial or his conscience? Is there a portfolio for all his work for ready access aside from his newspaper?
Yeah, I am not being censored. I do cartoons actually based on my conscience.
I think it's frozen. And so while we wait, okay,
And
I think it's back. Okay.
Of course, I also follow the editorial bent of my media house, but most importantly, I allow myself to be guided by my conscience and truth, because that's why I don't actually take advantage of. I don't do sensations. I don't do sensationalism. I make sure that no matter how trendy an issue is, I need to find out, what, and the how. So
Okay.
if I just, because it is funny, it is people are talking about it, and I just jump into it. Sometimes you make that mistake because there is so much misinformation, there is so much fake news out there, and some may really look very, very genuine until you discover that it was fake. So I'm very, very, very careful. And it's always very embarrassing for you to discover that you actually base your cartoon on a fake story.
Okay.
As for where you can get my cartoons, yeah, my cartoons are on the website, but you can also check my handles, on my
Okay.
at least two major um, uh, um, social media platforms, the Facebook
Okay.
and Twitter.
Yeah. The very last question, apologies once again to everyone. This question is that when most of the cartoonists tend to use the same color for the coronavirus, you have been using various colors. Is there any specific reason, as they usually say that it is easy to connect? I actually like the variety of colors. So is there a reason why you are using different colors in your cartoon portrayal of the COVID, of the virus itself?
Yeah, for one, we are still trying to understand COVID itself. We are still trying to understand the virus. So I didn't want to assign some kind of characteristics and form to a virus that is yet to be understood completely. So as much as it is coming, as much as we have different news about the virus, every single day you're hearing something, you're hearing it is airborne, we say no, it's not airborne and all that. So and so also the cartoon should represent it as something that is not quite understood. So it comes in different colors. So you don't really know. You don't know, okay, it is green or it is black, and then it also conjures all kinds of images in your mind. So there's no way I could I really look at it from one hue, So that's why I apply I present it in different colors.
Yeah, so thank you very much, everyone, for this highly engaging session with Mr. Mike Asukwo. And for those that are asking for his contact details, he's a member of the ICFJ Global Crisis Reporting Forum group on Facebook. So it will be much easier for me to introduce and connect you. So I really hope this webinar has informed you better on the concept of telling stories through cartoons, and I also hope it has inspired you, especially those that are interested in starting a career in telling stories through cartoons. So if you are not a member of the ICFJ Global Crisis Reporting Forum yet, I encourage you to please find the book on Facebook, and for more information about the forum, please visit www.icfj.org. And if you would like to access journalism resources on COVID-19, please check out the International Journalists Network out at www.ijnet.org. And please don't forget to fill a survey that is coming to your inbox after this webinar, because ICFJ would like your feedback to improve programming for this series. So on behalf of everybody at ICFJ, we want to say a very big thank you to Mr. Mike Asukwo for being a well-versed resource person. So thank you very much, and we'll always stay in touch. Bye, everyone, and have a lovely day. Take care.
Thank you.